do plumbing and ask them.
Oh man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, you nailed it right there with the plumbing thing because I recently put in a hot water heater. And it's one of those things, and like every time, because I don't leave my house too often, I actually kind of like isolation a little bit. I do enjoy talking with people clearly. Like, I have a podcast, I talk with people all over the world. Um, but every time that I have a face-to-face interaction with somebody, I consider them a friend almost, man. Like it's wild. When I was in Philadelphia, I was sitting at a bar in an airport and just talking with people. And it's wild. Like you bond with these people so quickly just by having like a genuine human experience. And when I was putting this water heater in, I went and I talked with this guy that owns this old fashioned, he's an old Jewish guy. Things been the building's been here forever, like since the 40s or whatever. And it's like been passed down from his great grandparents to him and all this stuff. And he was a mask wearer. He wanted us to all wear masks when we walked in and shit. And I'm like, oh, this is gonna be whack talking with this guy. But we ended up like really having a fun conversation about like just plumbing. Like I was like learning shit from him. He was telling me stuff. I ended up pulling my mask down under my chin. He's like, "Yeah, these are kind of bullshit. I just feel like we have to do these." So like we're not that different from
Mm,
people that we don't feel
yeah.
like the initial reaction, someone that's wearing a mask. You might fucking really get along with those people really
I,
well, even if you hate the mask thing.
you
And
know,
you just have to talk
yeah.
to people, man. It's
Yep.
wild what it does.
You so nailed that. Like I went through the entire events of 2020 forward, and I didn't change anything I did. I didn't change where I went. I didn't change my behavior. I never put a mask on, and I never did any of that. I just like because I could go into a whole other thing. Again, my wife's been disabled for going on 20 years now. I've looked at more blood and cellular behavior than your average person, so I kind of know what I'm talking about in that realm. So when all of this 2020 viral nonsense came out, it was we I just had a different perspective than a lot of people had. But I went through all of 2020 forward, and I just smiled my way through it. I was just nice. I mean, every once in a while, somebody would ask me to put on a mask. I'd be like, no, thank you. And I never got kicked out of any place. I don't have any Karen scenarios that I can tell you guys about. I just but what not enough of us did, and I think that's kind of the theme of what we're all kind of discussing here is I wish more people knew that it was okay. Like the plumber guy that Ryan that you were just talking about. Like when you pulled your mask down, you realize he was there with you. He was
Yeah.
just he wasn't passionate about that. He was just doing it because he thought. I had people. I never had anybody. I went into so many stores and never wore a mask. A lot of times I was the only person in there not wearing a mask. I don't have any stories of anyone coming up to me and being an asshole, but I do have like multiple stories of people coming up and thanking me. I mean, why? And it's like, well, because you're not wearing a mask. And it's like, you don't have to wear a mask either. Just don't.
Yeah.
Just be nice, you
But it's
I'll
know?
tell
that
you the only
safety net, right? Nobody wants to be the first one, but they'll gladly follow.
But once somebody does that, and again, that's kind of like, I mean, Matt, when before we even started, that was what I was talking about the art of conversation. This is just hearing other people have conversation or seeing other people behave in certain ways. That's all some people need is they just need that validation and go, okay, I was thinking that, or I was wanting to do that anyways, but now I see somebody else doing it. It makes it easier for,
yeah.
that person to come out and do it.
It goes back to that thing where like if your car breaks down on the side of the road and you're just asking for help, no one's going to really help you. But if people see you trying to push your own car out of the way,
Oh, you'll have
everyone's going to come
yeah,
help.
you're gonna have people lining up to help you push.
Yeah,
Yep.
man. And
Yeah.
like I've experienced that firsthand. My old car has broken down in the middle of a freaking intersection, and I have pushed it out of the way, and so many people just like park their car and
Yeah.
come and help, man. Like, it's nuts, but yeah, dude, it's just there's something to be said about just old school interactions with people. Like
That's
you will not believe the people that you would get along with and have like a good connection with, and you don't get their phone number, you don't do anything, you never see them again. But every once in a while, you'll just think back, like, oh man, that was a cool dude that I was talking with at the airport, or that this chick at this bar was a nice lady, or whatever. It's a wild kind of experience. It's human too.
Yeah, the majority of us most people are decent people. I've said it a bunch of different ways in past conversations. It's like, and again, I know this will rub a lot of people wrong, but like, I don't know that I've actually ever met a racist person. I've never met a terrorist. I've never met a homophobic person. I think these are all problems that have been created. Now, I've met people who have said some bigoted shit, and I've met people who have said some dumbass shit, but I've never met like take the word racism. That word gets thrown around like it's fucking candy. Okay? Racism means you are against a fucking race of people. You want to see that race of people like eliminated, gone from your life altogether. Who do you know in your real life that feels that way about a race of people? I mean, for real, like if I paid you guys $1,000 a person to come up with like someone who's real, who would come on camera with me and go, I hate Chinese people. I want them like, who do like, I don't know any real racist people. I don't know any real homophobic people. I know people who would probably not want their kids to be gay, but that doesn't mean they're homophobic. That just means that that's just not, I'm as heterosexual as they come, but I've got tons of gay friends. And I don't give a shit who you're sleeping with.
John, will I get $3,000 if I find someone who's racist, homophobic, and a terrorist?
if they'll come on camera with me and you and they will go, my name is so and so, I live in this address, and I'm racist, I'm homophobic, and I'm a terrorist. Maybe. But again, I don't think these problems really exist. I think they're just these social constructs that it gets enough people agitated that they become these memes. And again, I don't know. I'd love to meet a real racist. I'd love to have a conversation with a real racist person. I'd like to know what would make that person tick.
It is when you say like I agree with what you're saying. I see where you're going because it goes back to like my love for comedy. I forget what comedian said this, but it takes someone to really trust you to show their racism, right? Like no one is going to go up to strangers and be like, man, I hate this group of people. Like if someone's confiding that in you, they trust you so much to just be like, wow, like you're sharing some deep hatred with me.
And being racist or homophobic, those aren't passive things. Like you got to be active in that. You know what I mean? Right. So like if you're really racist, that's not a passive feeling.
Right. Doesn't this go back to Daryl Davis, the African-American man who actively went out and spoke to Klans members and he actually became good friends with them and switched their thinking? But they clearly weren't racist to begin with.
That is a great story. Yeah. That's
that right. Dave Chappelle skit where he's the head of the KKK.
Yeah.
He's a blind black man.
He's a blind
He divorces his wife because she's an N-word lover. It's so funny, dude.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, man. And then like the homophobia thing. Like the phobia, I think that was a term that was created because no one's afraid of gay people. Mm-hmm. It's almost empowering people to be gay because anyone that doesn't agree with them is afraid of them. And if you're afraid of something that's giving them power, it's not a fear. Even for like, I definitely like, like you said yourself, John, like I'm very straight. I don't think that homosexuality is sustainable. I'll say that. If everyone was gay, I don't think any of us would be here, So it's not natural. That's my opinion. But I'm not afraid of it.
No. And I mean, my wife's wedding dress was crafted by a pretty high profile drag queen here in the Nashville area, and what wonderful, wonderful human being. I am far from homophobic. In fact, like I said, I've mentioned several times, I graduated in '83. So I lived in a time that was like before Boy George, and when like Boy George came out and the Culture Club was like a thing in like 81, 82, for a minute, it was like, that's not a girl, that's a dude. For like a minute, there was a novelty about it, but nobody cared. Like there was no backlash against it because everyone loved that music and it was super trendy and everybody loved that and we'd already been through Bowie's Androgyny and the New York Dolls Androgyny and all of that. So like it wasn't that big of a deal. And so I can tell you, I mean, I grew up in Tempe, Arizona. I went to a very, very, very like racially integrated public high school. Tons of different ethnicities and tons of different sexuality options. Nobody cared if anybody